How does the idea of quality over quantity exist in the same reality where teachers beat us over the head with practice makes perfect? I'm here to tell you that they can't exist in the same reality. Practice makes perfect is a tried and tested method that breeds success, whereas quality over quantity is a business concept more common in the world of production than the world of work or creativity. Though this phrase has bled into multiple facets of our lives now, from creative work to basic 9-to-5 work and so forth. Practice makes perfect is a concept that will lead to a multitude of low-quality products, eventually leading up to the creation of a high-quality product. A production that'll eventually become repeatable in the long run. You guys out there agonizing over starting out with the perfect video, or the perfect product, or the perfect run in Marvel Rivals, it's all you guys out there that need to hear this. I tried to start with perfection, and how do you think that wound up? Another day, you're here again, and I thank you for that. What are you eating today? Is that goldfish I see? And I'm still here, talking and playing Marvel Rivals. I hope you enjoy it all, because we're gonna start some changes today, bud. The older I get and the more I dabble with creative works, the truer the idea of practice makes perfect becomes. I've written 6 novels since 2020, and my writing, as an art form, has greatly improved in that time. And it wasn't just the time that perfected it. It was the constant writing for 5 years in running. It was the research I dived into on how to perfect that writing. It was experimentation with things I've never done before. My writing is still far from perfect, but if you compare the text from The Expedition of Hope, my first novel, against My Brother Kanan, which is my newest novel, you'll see a pretty steep difference. A large improvement, in fact. That doesn't mean that I hate my first book or think anything less of it. It was a necessary step towards writing better books. You can exhaust yourself with research, but you'll never improve a skill if you don't do the thing. And there's a popular ideology in the writing community that states that your first novel will always be bad. We're all doomed to that concept, and it extends far beyond just books. I bet the first song Michael Jackson ever made himself was a sloppy mess. The first meal Gordon Ramsay prepared would have his modern self cussing him up and down the kitchen. My first game of Rivals would have me laughed out of this community. Our firsts are doomed to lameness, but that's okay, that's accepted. There's no need to kick yourself over a lackluster first project, but don't let that concept be an excuse for you to squeeze out some half-baked attempt at whatever it is you're making. If you keep intentionally turning out crap because you think you're outsmarting the system, then you'll never learn anything there either. Give every project the best effort that your current self can put forth. Then, when you do it again, you will take what you've learned and expand upon those concepts in your next book or project or whatever the heck it is you're making. It's also very common in the writing world to take your first book off the market after you've become a better established author, so that your fans, or potential fans, aren't put off by the amateur effort. I've fallen victim to this countless times. People will give my work a chance and start out with my first book, as that seems like the logical starting point, and I would totally agree with them on that. But then they'll discuss with me the lack of editing in the book and the weak overall writing, which is something else that I totally agree with. But also imagine how good that feels for the fans who have been there since the first book release. They literally get to witness my growth as a writer right there on the pages. It's because of that I've never taken this book off the market. But that's also why when people ask me which of my books they should pick up, I always point them to Dusty Little Wastelanders, which is actually my 3rd book, not my first. Because it wasn't until book 3 that I really felt like my storytelling muscles were really starting to cook. If I had, instead, insisted upon releasing a top-quality novel for my first go-around, then I'd likely still be working on that same book today, some 5 years later. Not only would I still not be finished with it, but I wouldn't have improved my craft all that much either. Analysis paralysis claims so many eager creators, and it's quite tragic, really. You have to know when to put the pen down and call the thing done. You aren't doing anyone any favors by working on the same project for the better half of a decade. Standards of art change frequently, and so your masterpiece may be outdated before it even hits the market at that point. Allow your practice to build your quality, and always aim for the best quality your present self can realistically achieve. Again, no one likes being set up for failure, so don't do that to yourself. Set realistic and achievable goals for yourself. If this is your first book, just expect to complete the dang thing and for it to be a coherent story. Don't expect to write the next fantastical epic that blends King and Sanderson in a captivating way that makes you regret ever having uttered a word in hate. I pulled a lot from my personal experiences as a writer, but there are really very few things in this world worth doing where practice makes perfect doesn't apply. I dabble a lot in music production as well. I'm not the next Ed Sheeran or anything even remotely comparable to that, but as a hobby, I have made several songs and improved my singing voice and my ability to write and compose compelling songs, melodies, and lyrics. Compare my first song from 2016 against The Moon's Too Bright from 2025, and you can instantly hear the quality that my practice has brought on. The things that I thought sounded great way back then, I can now recognize are pretty much butt, actually. And that's a skill that I've acquired, again, over practicing. Unlike with writing, with music, I actively attempted to make the most quality song before trying to release anything into the world that I would see as any less kind of quality. What that led me to was keeping my music largely unexposed for the better half of 6 years, rather than showing it to the people who could help me grow its quality and make it something better than what it was. Something more worth hearing, and that matched the quality standards that I had already set for myself. Thankfully, I learned through that experience the benefits of not harping too much on quality in the beginning, so that when I did dabble seriously into writing, I had already learned that lesson. It shows in other, better musicians than myself as well. I've seen a wide range of musical acts in concert, people as new as Shawn Mendes and as established as Paul McCartney. In all of these cases, there are very few new artists who put on a bad show in the traditional sense, but there's always a clear difference between seeing someone who the world would recognize as a music legend versus the next up-and-coming star. The legends own the stage. They're just there, owning the stage, the crowd, the whole moment, really. They've got their grasp firmly around things, and they're just doing everything with it. I've seen Paul McCartney, Stevie Wonder, and Elton John, probably even more legends that I can't remember right here on the spot. But one thing's remained the same all of the time. From the first moment they got on stage, you knew this would be epic. None of them had openers either. They got out there, tore the house down for 3 to 4 hours, all on their own. And I bet you know why that is. If you don't know why that is by now, then maybe you've been too mesmerized by my gameplay footage and my epic Marvel Rival plays to pay attention to what I've been saying. It's because these people have practiced. More practice, in fact, than I've even been alive for. In the case of each of these musicians, they've had 50 years in the music business under their belt by the time I got to see them live. Think of that for a moment. 50 years worth of practice? That's an entire lifetime, dedicated to just a single craft. Longer than a good portion of people have even been alive, dedicated to that craft. Now apply that level of practice to the next up-and-coming star that I saw as well, and I bet it'd transform them into some magical stage presence just the same as the other legends that I've seen. Either that, or they'll spiral out into some wacky and unhealthy way, but we're going to assume that that doesn't happen. That person will be captivating several generations after them through their sheer years of practice and dedication to their craft. Now, there's no questioning that these artists value quality over quantity as well. That's why none of them are still relevant on the modern radio. I know, right? That didn't sound quite right. If they value quality over quantity, then why aren't they still on the modern radio stations? Times change. What's popular, especially in the music world, shifts rapidly from decade to decade. If these artists were still relevant on the modern radios, they would have had to have drastically changed their music styles from what they were originally doing in order to do so. They didn't do that. They didn't sell out or change their art form just to make a quick buck or stay relevant and sellable. They remained true to their art and made the quality art that they are known for making. That's not a jab against modern radio, it's a jab against clout chasing. If I were an 80s funk musician and switched over to hip hop after the funk fell off, that could be seen as me just chasing the money or what's popular, rather than sticking with where my passions is, with 80s funk that is. But that goes down a whole rabbit hole as to whether or not I originally was making the funk for the love of the funk or for the love of the money to begin with. I won't be going down that rabbit hole here, but maybe, hey, if you all shout at me loud enough in the comment section, I can go down that rabbit hole in another video. So then, do you still think that hyper-focusing on quality early on in your creative journey is a good idea? Because if so, then I don't know why I've bothered yakking at you for the last 10 minutes or so. Again, maybe my gameplay footage is just that hypnotizing. Anyway, like anything, it's more of a give and a take than this whole one true thing that you gotta do to win. Lean towards quantity over quality, especially when you're just starting out. Throw yourself out there, get used to the feeling of being out there, learn from what worked and what didn't. Then, expand upon those concepts to build a better thing. Keep a quality-focused mindset. Be realistic with the quality you'll be able to put out at this point in time, with your current skill set and resources at your disposal. Keep that up and keep creating, and you're bound for quality. And with quality, consistency, respect, and perseverance, you will find success. The kind of success that'll take you out of your 9-to-5, or get your work nationally respected, or turn you into a valuable teammate in Marvel Rivals. Whatever the reason, whatever the goal, remember to pull a Shia LaBeouf and just do the dang thing. Go full Nike and do it, bud. Damn. I write my own fiction novels and have my own animation here on YouTube. If you want to support me, I'd love for you to check those out. Links in the bio. Now go out there and seize this life, bud.